All right, Anthony, thanks again for being on Founders Club. Really appreciate you taking some time out to chat with us today.
Sorry, I kind of cut out there. Say that one more time. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I got you now.
Yeah.
So
Okay. You good? Yeah.
I'm good.
All right.
Good
I said I just wanted to welcome Anthony to Founders Club and appreciate you taking the time out to chat with us today.
Hey, thanks for having me on. So yeah, just yeah, shoot away. I'm here to answer questions. Yeah, I'm excited. To talk with you guys, say a little bit about the DLE network. So that stands for Designated Local Expert. That's what I'm the founder of, and what we do is we provide the most powerful personal branding in the real estate industry, and we back it by the industry's first, agent-centric virtual real estate office. And what we specialize in is allowing our members to be easy to find, remember, and choose. And we capture local market share, and we show our members how to get found on the first page of Google, right? Google Maps, and that's what a modern day, brick and mortar looks like. And yeah, we're having a good time doing it. And um, with that being said, we've made just in the last year a lot of substantial progress, and I've been approached by a lot of the largest owners of the largest real estate companies in the world, to a lot of the most influential real estate coaches, heavy hitters, about the network, asking questions. And yeah, so it's been really exciting. So any questions I can
Awesome,
answer
man.
about it.
Yeah, well, again, appreciate you being on. Want to hear about your story and kind of, the network you've built and the things that you're doing because it's very exciting and I think kind of a unique differentiator. I also agree that, Google Maps, if you can dominate that, that is like modern day land that you can own. And if you can get on that spot, obviously that would help you get a lot of business. But why don't we talk first, just kind of how you got into the game of real estate?
Oh yeah, so I have a different mindset. So I was actually adopted by a real estate broker early on. But I think so I had this mindset where I was always appreciative of everything I had. But the funny part was, so I graduated high school in 2008, and that's actually when I started real estate. And I think it was a combination of just my mindset and and how I was raised by my father. He basically told me, hey, everything I have is mine, not yours, and I'm going to teach you to make it on your own. And really just a product of my environment. What ended up happening was, so 2008 recession hit, and when I was graduating high school, my father said, hey, look, you know the family's going under, we need your help. He's a real estate broker, had a bunch of apartments, whole 9 yards. And he said, whatever you hear on the news isn't true. It's actually the best time to get into real estate because everyone's, afraid of the market. But he goes, people still got to buy and sell. And real estate's simple. All you need is, a good pair of shoes. And he goes, and you just got to knock on doors and ask people they're thinking of selling. I said, okay, that's it. And he said, yeah. And so I got my license, hit the gate at 2008. And the goal, he basically just taught me, hey, go knock on doors. So that's what I did. And, long story short, starting in 2008, I just said, hey, I'm going to knock on 500 doors a day and just ask people if they're thinking of selling. And I did that consistently. And I just went out, and it was only a matter of a few weeks where, I didn't even have enough money to, have a business card at the time, right? Just starting literally from ground zero. And I remember, I'll never forget, it was my first deal where I knocked on the guy's door and I said, hey, I'm Anthony with Remax. Are you thinking of selling? And then he paused before he slammed the door in my face. So after you get, enough no's, and me being 18 years old, I mean, this was about 15 years ago, I'll never forget that moment. I knew he must have been thinking of selling because he hesitated. So what I ended up doing is I put my foot in the door, and that prevented the door from being fully slammed. And then I flung my shoe off the foot, and it went inside his house. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. So I entered the home, grabbed my shoe, and I started putting on it. As I was tying my shoes, in that process of, just kind of being down on one knee, and looking at the guy, I was able to have a conversation, build enough rapport, and figured out why he was selling, set the listing appointment, closed the deal, brought home an $18,000 check, and then boom, my mind changed forever at that moment. And so starting in 2008, I was able to basically, so at that time, it was a stressful time for my father, and he had strokes, heart attacks, and I had to go from boy to man real quick, right? And so basically his level of speech and everything, I knew it was a perceptions reality business. And he basically said, hey, all you got to find something in this line, put in something called the MLS and price it right, take a picture, and that's all you got to do. And then you could just, use common sense to close the deal. And then he said, and so since I've had these health issues, I could just kind of go on the listing appointment and wear the suit, and I'll give you the perception you need to have the knowledge and experience, quote unquote, to close the deal. So that's how I started real estate, and that was my mindset. And basically from that point forward, I guess looking 15 years back, I was able to pay off all his debts, his house, his apartments. I put myself through the local college. I bought my sister a house. I bought myself a house. And I was just crushing it from that point forward because my mindset was I only knew the worst. And, I just understood the real estate business is a perceptions reality business. And that's how I started. And since then, I've been able to really.
How did you scale it up from that initial, knocking on the door and getting the listing to building a large real estate business? What was that, what was it that you did?
Right. So if when I look back, it's really simple, right? So 2008, everyone, my goal was to like pay off my family's debts, pay off their apartment buildings, get myself a house, get my sister. So I started hitting all these goals, and I realized, the only way a real estate agent can increase value to their time is simple. It's to create a geo farm, locate, homes in a city between, let's say, so what I decided to do was this new invention came into the market called Zillow, right? So you remember that time period? I don't know, 7-8 years back. Zillow, Realtor.com, so all these real estate websites got control of the IDX feed from the MLS, and they started syndicating listings. So then my mindset was, wow, this is an opportunity for me to go in and mine out listings, and I could then break up the monopolies for cities such as myself in Claremont, right? I said, hey, if I could go into Claremont and just start getting listings in, let's say, the 800 to 1.5 million price range, right? And I could capture just 3% of that listing inventory for the year and double in half, I'll have more money and time than I know what to do with. It's that simple, right? Without the headaches of a real estate team and this and that. That's truly the only way to increase value to your time, because I would drive less, sell less, have less problems and issues, and make 10x the money, right? So if you really want to increase value to because that's what franchises do. They try to give you, a brand and blueprints to achieve freedom, right? So what freedom to me was just, hey, if I could just get, 15 listings in Claremont, double in half, I'll have all the time and money I need to live my life, right?
I love that.
Right. So what ended up happening was there's these cities throughout the country where, young guys like me couldn't break in, because if I got the listing, there would be a group of like 15, 20 agents that controlled the buyer pool, and they wouldn't show my listing. They would want to choke me out. And what I realized was, wow, I no longer. So then my mindset was, all I need to do is get the listing, and I don't need these buyers agents. They're pretty much just like taxi drivers. This was even before Uber, right? And I said, well, I'm just going to get the listing and do what I do, create a geo farm, and I don't care if they like me or not, because I'm going to take good photos and it's just going to syndicate. And so what I did is I selected Claremont, and I said, hey, I'm going to focus on that 800 to 1.4 million price range, capture, 3 to 5% of that listing inventory, double in half. And that's what I did.
That's amazing. So that I definitely want to break down. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you decided to basically lock down a either neighborhood or area or part of town or an entire town itself. You've selected the price point you wanted to be in. You determined how many sales there were, worked backwards, and if you could get 3% of that, you were happy. That was kind of the target, right? And then how did you go about doing that?
Well, so me being a young guy, right? You got to remember, I'm going on listing appointments because it's a perceptions reality business. I know I'm an expert. See, when they ask, well, why are you Mr. Claremont, right? And it's got a deep root. The response is simple. It's because, I'm an expert at marketing and selling the Claremont lifestyle, right? And I'm a Claremont real estate wealth management expert. And I specifically focus in the 800 to 1.4 million price range. I'm not a broker managing an office. I'm not the luxury agent up the hill, right? And there's no individual human being or real estate team, right, that will sell your home for the most money and most favorable terms and make it super smooth and simple. So when I'm talking to people like that, and I'm so niche and focused and laser sharp, I was interviewing against the best agents in the industry all the time. And I had something that, they didn't, and I would just wipe them out and blow them away, right? And not only would I win the listing, but I would get it signed at 6%. Now, to take it a step further, right, is so two things, like kind of I was telling you earlier back on my mindset, right? When I was crushing it in 2008, the internet really evolved where you no longer, it broke up the monopolies of certain agents and brokerages controlling. You fast forward to modern day, it comes down to like, what's modern day brick and mortar? Well, .coms don't really matter. They do to a sense, but there's been a Google listing boom. And what people do is Google, and there's these, these force fields around these cities, right? And so, I have this massive SEO advantage because my business name is Mr. Claremont Real Estate, and it's backed by the DLE network. So if you Google, real estate agent in Claremont or appraiser in Claremont, I'm always on the first page of Google, right? And the top 3 in Google Maps. And that's important because if you ask Google Bard, right, Google's artificial intelligence, the click-through rate is it's 12.8, almost 13 times higher than paid for ads, right? So we're going to kind of thread in conversation. So if you think about it, right, post-pandemic, people now understand you don't need a brick and mortar in, their city to, have that as a requirement to sell their home. But then post-pandemic, people are also smarter and they see the word ad and sponsored. You can still run Google ads and get business, right? But the click-through rate, again, is almost 13 times higher when you're organically found on that first page of Google. And I've got that down to a science, right? And a lot of it is because the name of my business, real estate, and I'm backed by the industry's most powerful real estate website, designated local expert. It transfers what's called link juice. And I've got that down to a science, right? But to take it even a step further and deeper, right, is how I was able to see real estate prospecting is just a numbers game and consistency, right? You prospect, you follow up, and we all know the money's in the follow up. Would you agree?
Yes.
So with that being said, so what did Mr. Claremont do for me? So like I hung my license at Remax, right? It didn't, first what it did is it changed my entire mind and behavior, right? So modern day, my dream was about 4 years ago. I've achieved all my goals and dreams in regards to getting my dream wife, my family. I have 3 beautiful daughters, my dream home, my dream cars, multiple rental properties, mixed use, commercial, residential. And I own, just over 120 state and federal trademark, right? So I own the rights to the Mr. and Miss throughout the United States, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, just to name a few. And I enter into licensing agreements with agents and I show them my way of life. But what it starts with, right, it's kind of like the gym, right? Emotions are like muscles. The ones you use the most grow the strongest. And I'll never forget, it's like when 2008 hit, my father had a heart attacks and strokes. That was an identity shift. I went from boy to man quickly because we had to survive capitalism. Without money, you die. It's simple. So I had to step up to the plate, right? But then when I became a father, that was a huge identity shift, right? Because, it's just, there's no way of explaining until you have a child and you go through that change, right?
Right, exactly.
But what I did was I said, well, how can I, on the bad days when I don't feel like prospecting or following up, get myself to consistently do it. And so that's where Mr. Claremont comes in because, how I start my day every single day with ways. Business is simple, especially real estate prospecting. It's all a mindset. That's all it is. And what I did was I wrote, it's called a manifesto script. And I wrote down exactly who I am and what I want to be. And I assigned that meaning to Mr. Claremont. So when I'd wear it on my shirt, I'd see it on my car, when I put on my jersey, Mr. Claremont, right? My Anthony is gone. Now there's just a new person. It's Mr. Claremont. And when I'd put that on, I would compartmentalize my emotion. I would just become a machine, right? And it was something I did personally for myself. And so as I would navigate through my life, every time I'd see the Mr. Claremont logo on my shirt, my print mail, my car, whatever it would be, it immediately changed my mind and focus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so
it's like your alter ego.
yeah. And so, in a nutshell, what happened was it was really simple, right? So the goal was, how do you increase value to your time as a realtor and have true freedom, money, and time? It's through geofarming, right? So I was able to consistently, just do the basics of just door knocking, print mail, and follow up, and make as much money as I want. So for example, through the pandemic, in March of 2020 to December of 2021, I think I put like 1.1 million net GCI in the bank. I couldn't door knock. I couldn't leave a flyer at someone's door here in LA County, do any normal foreign circle prospect. Everything was against the law. And all I did was do, my print mail as Mr. Claremont, follow up with listing leads, and kill it. But here's the difference, right? So my brand as Mr. Claremont made my print marketing, it makes it hit 10x more because they see and hear it one time. They never forget, right? Top of mind awareness. But the interesting part was the other unique advantage I would have just going on listing appointments, right? Explaining why I'm Mr. Claremont and how I'm so specialized is that when I would get a listing, right? I'd put the sign in the yard and say Anthony Grynchal with Remax, right? So post-pandemic, what? People now accept the fact that you don't need a brick and mortar. A modern-day real estate office is ranking on the first page of Google. They're now getting smart, and they see ad and sponsored, and the trust factor goes down, right? So you got to have a plan to rank high there. But number three, people don't like getting hounded by a real estate agent or a salesperson. So I needed to be perceived as, why does everyone give their info to Zillow, Truly, and Realtor.com? It's indirect marketing. What happens is people will give their information, and then Zillow refers it or sells it to their agents, right? And then they basically follow up and hound them and convert them to a client. But what Mr. Claremont did for me, which was extremely powerful, throughout my career, it's been my secret weapon, is I'd have Anthony Grynchal with Remax sign in the yard, right? People would see that and they're like, I'm never going to call that guy. I don't want to get hounded by a sales guy. But when I put a Mr. Claremont sign writer, right? Because as a real estate agent, a local listing agent, you control everything, right? What the two things you have control over are photos you launch in the MLS and your sign in the yard, right? And so I would just launch, it's like online dating, 5 of the best photos of the home, withhold the rest. I'd have the Anthony Grynchal Remax sign in the yard. But then when I'd have a sign writer, literally like on a campaign sign, like those guys running for city council or whatever, I'd stick that and it would say, for instant info and pics, not found online, text Claremont 1 to 80,000. There'd be this big Mr. Claremont logo. So then what would happen was everyone would be on Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com. They'd drive by. I'd say, launch the listing on a Monday, open house Sunday from 1 to 4. So in that 6-day period, I would leverage the MLS and every online platform to syndicate my listing for what? It would get them off the couch. They'd be on their apps, drive by the home, see the sales guy right there. Oh, Anthony Grynchal, I'm not going to call him, but they see Mr. Claremont. It does what? It sounds familiar. They like, know, and trust it because they're buying Claremont. It sounds like the city, right? And it's the combination of that plus a short code, a 5-digit number. And then they see Anthony Grynchal with a 7-digit number salesman, and they want the rest of the photos. They would text it 100% of the time, right? And so what that would have then allowed me to do, get the leads and take away the power from all the online competition. Does that make sense? I needed them to syndicate it, right? And then I would have the buyers drive by, and it'd be a combination of my brand plus the short code. They would text it, and then I would get the lead. And then when I would follow up, I would say, hey, it's Mr. Claremont, the network notified me you're interested in my listing. How may I help you? And then right there, boom, it just teed me up. And then it went from instead of me prospecting them, it was them prospecting me. And then that's how it double end 75% of my listings, offer incentives, take away the power from all the online competition. And it was something as simple as an indirect brand plus a shortcut. So with that being said, I'm just, kind of all over, but what I'm trying to tell you is simple, is this brand is extremely powerful because it's not only changes the mindset, right? But it truly, elevated, it makes my print marketing hit 10x harder. It brings my listing signs back to life. And it allows me to be, for example, 2 weeks ago, went on a listing appointment. There was 4 Remax agents, top 2 in the country. I mean, I can name drop. Literally been killing it since the 70s. The other one's been killing it since the 80s. Like literally top 1% worldwide of Remax. And I just blew them away on the listing appointment. And they just get so upset because I've got, this system down on the listing a pitch. They're like, what'd you do it for like 1% commission? No, I got it signed at 6, right? And it just still works to the day. But what I'm really passionate about now is, it's like I run Mr. Claremont at 10% capacity, and I'm able to deliver a brand and a virtual office on a membership-based fee to real estate agents that is just completely life-changing, right? And so what I did over the last 2 years was I said, hey, can I just, because I really wanted, my goal was, I took care of, my family. Then I started my own family, and we're good. Like I've really provided a dream life for my wife and my girls and, all that stuff. And how I see life is just like, I wanted to help out others of like kind. And so what I did is, I really leaned into the DLE network, and I had a, test group of about 60 agents of all different, top 20 brokerages in the country, different ages, different races, agents that make 100 grand, agents that make 2 million plus, and deliver, my product to them, and all of them report the same thing. It's just completely life-changing. They're increasing value to their time, capturing local market share, and they're just, having fun and just making a lot more money. And so
Right.
I'm really
So tell me about that DLE network. How does that all work?
yeah. So I have like a holdings company. It's called Mr. Cali, and it holds, a lot of intellectual property. And, basically in a nutshell, what we do is, it's pretty remarkable. In the last year, I've gotten inquiries and applications throughout, the country, but I wasn't really focused on that. What I was focused on was not just a rapid expansion, but taking this group of about, we're got like this little small group of about 70 of them. And my goal was to see, hey, could I, deliver this brand, right? Get you to rank high in Google, provide a short code, and show you how to take this designation, right? And integrate it into what you're already doing to help you capture local market share by, first off, elevating your print marketing, right? And number 2 is, it's a lifestyle brand, right? And it's just, can I give you this brand and an SEO plan to rank high, blow away your competition, generate local listing leads, take away the power from the online competition, and allow you to thrive in a holistic approach.
So
right?
if I'm understanding you correctly, you're basically duplicating yourself across markets. Like it would be Mr. Malibu and Mr. Santa Barbara, right? Is that what you're saying? Like,
Right. So I own the intellectual property for the Mr. and Miss for every city, neighborhood, and unincorporated in 7 common law countries. We'll just talk about the US and Canada, right? And yeah, and so basically members want to integrate and leverage in their own ways, right? What we've created besides this brand is like the industry's first agent-centric virtual real estate office. And what that means is because most try to get in the way between the agent and their commission and collect a referral fee. And I was just after like, hey, can you pay a membership fee, right? So we'll basically charge $350 a month for you to be Miss Mission Viejo, for example, or Mr. Fresno, or We have a guy that's currently signing up to be Mr. Malibu, but I have a Miss San Francisco. I mean, we have a Miss Somerville in South Carolina. We got a Mr. Daphne in Alabama. I mean, it's all been an experiment, right? And
Okay.
it's been extremely successful because, they are getting, calls to go on listing appointments, and they're being found online. They're being remembered, right? And that's our mission. It's to be easily remembered, found, and selected, to be, the real estate agent to go on the listing appointment. And
So if again, if I'm hearing you correctly, uh, agents can sign up for the network. It's $350 a month. That gets them a Mr. or Mrs. designation for their city. And then you're helping them with, what is it, print marketing, SEO? Like, what's the
there's
back
three,
end
yeah.
look like?
Okay, so check it out, right? So in our industry, there's three buckets, right? So you think about like a real estate coach, right? It's kind of funny to me because it's like, why would you spend $1,000 a month to have some guy tell you to prospect, follow up, and stay consistent, right? Because I've been lucky enough through the DLE network to get information and wisdom from like the owners of the largest real estate companies in the world. Like I talk to them on their phone, the CEOs of the largest real estate companies in the world, and I've learned a lot along the way. So, for example, what a human being cannot give themselves is personal attention and appreciation. Those are the two things that they can't give them. And I think it's sad in the real estate industry that there's a lot of these certain individuals that just kind of prey on that because why? When you're prospecting and following up, it gets hard, right? And your confidence goes down, whatever. And you get some real estate coach or someone, they can make a ton of money by providing personal attention, appreciation. I just tell my members, hey, if you need that, go ahead and sign up for your therapist or use your insurance card and just tell them to tell you to help me stay consistent and prospect, follow up, and give me personal attention, appreciation, right? So that whole coaching industry is just mind blowing to me because you could easily just get a therapist and save a ton of money, right? So in a nutshell, you get what I'm saying on that?
I get it.
So what we provide is the most powerful brand and office, virtual office, right, to get you in the top. And I guess that third bucket is we have like a network, and we do masterminds, and we have like our social media group, but we provide each other, the members, the personal attention and appreciation. And what makes us so unique is that for example, like we have like a Mr. Fresno, right? But there's like a lifestyle brand with it. We have something that just makes us so unique because if you Google Mr. Claremont and then you click on my website, we're all connected through backlinking and interlinking. And what it does, it's called link choose transfer. So if you Google Mr. Claremont, I have an independent website. It goes from Mr. Claremont, it shotguns over to DLE and syndicates to every single member and increases their SEO, right? So we're all rising together. And we have members, like Mr. Huntington Beach, he's getting listing calls. And we have members where, Miss Irvine, right? There's 4,700 agents literally licensed that live in Irvine and tens of thousands surrounding. And she just wanted to get in there and differentiate herself from the competition and have a brand that's actually going to, drive local conversations. And she's just connecting to our website, and same thing, just rising in the rankings and getting listing calls. So what we do is we give you the most powerful personal branding in the real estate industry. That's more powerful than a global brand perception, right? Then what we do is it's almost like a print broker. We focus on, notepads, magazines, EDD, mass mail. We provide the content for it and connections to our print factory. So you get the highest quality print material for the lowest cost, right? There's this other bucket, right? So you got the branding, the coaching, but then there's this whole Google business SEO world that has now infiltrated the industry, right? And so there's all these people offering Google business profile SEO. And I've interviewed about literally 20 to 30 different, companies that claim to be the best at Google business SEO. And they charge, do you know on average how much they charge? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Probably $1,000 a month at least.
Oh, a minimum 1,000 a month, right? But on average, it ranges from 1,000 to 1,800. Some of them charge like $3,000 a month, and we give The ones that on average charge 1,800 to 2,200 a month, that's not even 10% of what we offer our members with the SEO package. So it's like, it's really powerful because we give them a brand, they get the personal attention, appreciation. I guess you can call that coaching, right? Because I show them how to integrate and leverage this designation, right? Something you have that no one else has in the community with it, right? To dominate your competition and capture the local market share. In that whole Google business world, we'll just call it the modern day brick and mortar, right? We get you slammed to the top and you just listen to 25% of what I'm telling you, right? We've got it down to a science. And
what sort of time frame does that generally happen in?
oh, to like rank high in Google, it's very similar to real estate prospecting. When you think about any facet of hyper local marketing, you could use your designation. It'll make it hit 10x harder if you use our short codes and the brand and integrate it. But it's like that. It's a numbers game and consistency, right? So if you're consistently posting the non-AI, non-plagiarized, unique content that we give you, right? And I'll just give you another thing that we do better than anyone on earth, right? Is so when you think about, again, let's go back. What do we control as listing agents? The photos and the sign in the yard. Sorry, they can't take that from us. I know over the years, all these local boards, state boards, national boards, they're constantly trying to take the power from the realtor and sell it to the competition. Okay, whatever, right? And if you're a real estate agent and you want to get rid of anxiety, it's really easy. Just understand what you have control over, what you don't have control over. Have the wisdom to know the difference between the two. Pray, get yourself a therapist and get the personal attention, appreciation, prospect follow-up, period. That's the business. So to go back to it, right, it's very simple to brand marketing. If you change your business name, let's use me, for example, Mr. Claremont Real Estate, right? And you're connected to the DLE network with backlinking, okay? And you're consistently posting the content we're giving you on all your social media, right? 70% of the game in SEO is just the name Mr. Claremont Real Estate or Mr. Beverly Hills Real Estate. You name it that's about 95% of the keywords we could legally defend, right? But it's called metadata infusion. So what's not against the rules in real estate, when you launch listings on social media or in the MLS, you could actually inject into your listing photo some key elements, right? So you could inject into your listing photo the Google listing coordinates, the keyword Claremont Real Estate Agent, your website, and your phone number all into a photograph. And what do you think happens when you click sold and that gets shotgunned out to thousands of real estate websites? It stores on their servers and points back. But guess what happens? It hits 10x harder when your business name is Mr. Claremont Real Estate. It's located in the city of Claremont, California. And all of a sudden, you're getting backlinks from all these photos on real estate specific websites, pointing back to a keyword Claremont Realtor named Mr. Claremont Real Estate with a Claremont address. Now, if I went by Anthony Grynchal with Remax, those metadata infusions would not hit 10x harder. The same way with the short code sign. I tried it. Look, I would play Anthony with Remax short code. No, they're smart. They're like, that's the realtor. He's going to hound me. So it's the brand name that does all the magic, right? So we offer our members unlimited metadata infusions, leverage the MLS, leverage social media for metadata injections. And if you're consistently doing that and posting the non-plagiarized, unique, non-AI content that is specific to your city, talking about real estate with your keywords, you're going to get slammed to the top. And here's the other crazy part that I love.
And what is that stuff that you're giving them? Is that like Facebook posts, Instagram photos, like what are blog posts? What are you referencing there?
So we have a portal. What do you do as a listing agent? You take photos of a home, right? So your job as a listing agent is you throw them through our portal. We send them back to you metadata infused, right? And your job is, post just listed, just sold, right? And then if you're, what does the consumer want? They want a local expert that's providing valuable information and is considered local, credible, and they're going to list with you if they like, know, and trust you. But when you display your expert at marketing and selling their lifestyle, it's like going to the doctor. There's 47 different doctors. If you have a heart problem, you go into the pediatrician, you go to the foot doctor. No, you're going to the cardiologist. You're selling your home in Claremont. I'm the only cardiologist in town. That's it. It's straight pure raw brand power, right? But
Mhm.
the key is and if you don't have time to post, that's fine. You could have a VA that will refer you to. We have hundreds of them that work for us overseas, and they'll just take your listing photos, which you're already doing, and your content. And if you consistently post that on your Google business profile and your social media with the metadata infused photos and content, and you're connected to our website, you're going to be at the top and slam there. But the interesting part is a lot of our members, like, they're newer because there's local rankings in your city, right? And then it expands where if you're outside of your city, let's say in your county, outside of the state, right? And there's national rankings, right? Because it's location and city specific for searching. That's how the internet works, right? But we
Mhm.
have members in their geo farms right now that just started up, and they've been posting for a few months, and they're like ranking number 7 or 8 in Google Maps, and they're the ones getting the call to go on the listing point because people scroll and they're like, hey, I want to consider you to be one that I interview because Miss Laguna Hills real estate, wow, you probably know what you're doing, and I need a local expert's opinion. And so, like, they don't even have to be number 1, and they're still considered for the call. So it's just remarkable. And the fun part is it's a lifestyle brand. So when our members go to the gym or the grocery store, we give them swag, right? We give them Nike Flex Fit polos, and they're shopping. They're like, if they see Remax, like, shit, sales guide, next EXP, Keller Willis, woo, how do I dodge this guy, right? But they see Mr. Claremont, like, what's that? It drives local conversations. They hear it one time, they never forget. And I'll just, I'll say, hey, I've won the beauty pageant 50 years in a row. And then I just start laughing. Everyone jokes around. They're like, what are you, 20? And I'm like, no, I'm actually, 33. But yeah, no, I'm a Claremont real estate wealth management expert. And they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of you. That's great. Yeah. My brother's thinking of selling their home. Or if I'm door knocking, or if I'm doing it open, they don't perceive me as a realtor. They perceive me as like a public figure. Like, I'm literally the walking blue check mark of Instagram, which is no longer exclusive or unique because you could pay $20 and have your blue check, right? So
Mhm.
what they perceive me as is this local, credible, almost, mayor-like, celebrity-like type figure that provides credible information. That's what the consumers want, and that's what Google wants, right? They want a local expert. So it's all tied together. And so to answer your question, they rank high and fast, and we sent them a book, the DLE book. It's just a 30-page guide, and it's a manual. You can join our masterminds, our Facebook groups, and you just choose how much you want to integrate and leverage. But what we know for sure is you're going to experience what's called, imposter syndrome. Have you heard of that before?
Mhm.
It's where, like, and I hear these terms because I'm having conversations with the most influential, figures in the industry, and they want to make the network exclusive to them, but I've denied it every single time because I'm not going to give up the network, right? And then they say, oh, you have founder syndrome. That's the counter, right? That I hear a lot. And it's kind of like a negative thing. Your thing's called your podcast is the founders podcast. The founder syndrome is where they try to claim, oh, you're not doing what's best for the growth of the company. And it's like, no, I'm only doing what's best for my members, and I'll never sell out. I'm just going to ride or die. And what they would like to do is obviously charge substantially more because they know they can, and have control over their identity. So that's why I'm really careful with who I let into the fold, because it's called a designation. It's really the most powerful brand. And if you integrate it, properly, it can become your identity quickly, right? So
Yep.
it's really fun and exciting because it's life changing, and it's really it's changing their lives. It's really increasing value to their time. It completely transforms their mindset, and and I'm just kind of figuring out who I want to let in the fold to roll it out in bigger ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that's
So
just kind of taking a lot
it,
more of my.
it it sounds really cool. It sounds like a great way to get exposure. It sounds like a really great way to build a brand, especially in your local community, which, like you said, is the name of the game in real estate. And I really appreciate you sharing all that stuff. For people that want to learn more, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, you just Google designated local expert, right? So it's designatedlocalexpert.com. And, we have an explainer video. We have, and then you just click apply and you fill out the application, and then it comes into the team. And then what we're really looking for is, we don't care if you're a level 1 agent, meaning you make less than 100 grand, or a level 5. We're looking for people that really, want to put their heart into it, right? And they got to be legit. You can't be like a weird person or all these, crooked things. We do a slight background check, and we just want to, position people that, want to experience, a change in their mindset, a change in their identity, capture local market share, and just aspire to be so much more, right? And so that's really, in a nutshell, what we're looking for. And yeah, that's what we do.
Cool. Well, again, I really appreciate the time, Mr. Claremont, and I'll definitely, circle back on this. It does sound like a really cool opportunity. So definitely, for all the listeners out there, check him out and look at Designated Local Experts. And as always, if you have any questions, put them in the box down below. I'm sure Anthony would be happy to circle back on those. And other announcements, we got the Facebook group that's going live, links in the description for all that. And as always, if you like money and you like real estate, hit that subscribe button, because this is the show for you. We'll see you on the next one.